the bigger mission you are on, the more problems you have. It's better to be consistent, even doing the small steps, but every single day. The client doesn't want you to do what he wants you to do. The client wants you to be a leader of the whole project.
Welcome to this edition of Startup with Poland, the show where we get to the nitty-gritty of what's going on in Poland's startup ecosystem. My name is Tessa McIver and I'm your host. My guest today is Olga Sobieraj, a strategy consultant and coach for startups specializing in the areas of marketing and sales, particularly for the FMCG sector. Olga is a former CEO of the international marketing agency Ogilvy and former marketing director at Amrest. Olga gets to see tons of startups each year, and I can't wait to find out more from behind the scenes. Olga, I'm delighted to have you with us here today, and I really want to find out more about what you currently do with startups. But let's start with delving into your past, which is also really interesting. You were CEO at Ogilvy, you were the marketing director at Amrest, and I really want to find out more about those experiences and what you learned from them.
Good to be here, and thank you very much for the invitation. Yes, that's true. I used to work in Ogilvy, but I would start from the beginning because I had my own promotion agency while I was studying, together with my partner. And as a supplier, we just came to one of the advertising agencies in Poland, and I become one of the employees one day, a few months later. So I have an experience of, I call it from zero to hero. So from account assistant to CEO of the agency and the 6 agencies within the group.
Fantastic.
But the road was very interesting because I started to work in a local agency, which was acquired or merged with international agency with Ogilvy. And then the owner of the private agency decided to sell his shares, and I become part of the corporate world. Then I moved to Amrest, and I had a completely different experience because I was the marketing director, and Amrest was like a big startup. So it was like really, really fast. And then I was a consultant in retail businesses in Poland and in Russia, because I was flying to Russia for 2 years. So it was very, very interesting years. And I have a lot of insights, especially right now when I work with the C-level managers or the owners of the startups. I can, share so many different experiences and insights from my own experience.
Yeah, no, so it seems like, all of these roles were obviously, had a slightly different path and were from a different sort of viewpoint. So, it really must have altogether brought a lot of value, to the background that you have. But how, taking into account these experiences, how did you get into the startup environment?
It was a few years ago. I think that maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Maya Meissner, who's, in my opinion, one of the best headhunters here in this country, she introduced me to Bogi Skowroński, who was running the MIT, who's one of the founders of MIT Enterprise Forums. When we met,
yes,
Tess,
indeed.
because Maya knew me from all the recruitment processes, and she said, your experience, your knowledge, your know-how will be very valued for the startups, and on the other side, it will be very valued for you to know how those people are thinking right now. And I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. I'm still with MIT. I'm still a mentor. On top of MIT, I'm a mentor in many, many other organizations. But that was my beginning with the startup world, honestly.
Okay, well, that's, amazing that, also that our paths crossed at that point when you got into this, startup ecosystem. I mean, I know that currently you spend more than 400 hours a year mentoring, coaching, and what is the importance for startups to have that mentoring and coaching? What difference does it make to their development?
Yeah. First of all, I don't like to call myself coach or a mentor because I don't think it's a title. I think it's a tool.
Okay.
So this is one of the best, in my opinion, right now, tools for personal development or business development. And it's so much important for startups world, the same as for example, C-level managers or leaders, CEOs I'm working with as well in a corporate world. Because having somebody who's sitting in front of you without judging you as a peer, but still at the same time challenge your perspective, challenge your point of view, showing you a different perspective, showing you something you don't see yourself from the place you're sitting in.
Yeah.
So that's crucial for me. And that's crucial, I think, for every person today. Because if I could remember, 71% of Fortune 500 companies, they have a mentoring program. More than 70% see the huge value out of it. They see that it's more effective for people. The people are more effective for the companies. They are working much better. They're feeling much better in the company if they have this kind of processes. So most of the big companies and most of the big corporations, even, they're having the mentoring. That's why I think this is very important, that you have somebody you're sitting next to who appears, as I said before, as a peer, but at the same time challenge your perspective, challenge your point of view. Because from my experience, the bigger mission you are on, the more problems you have.
Yeah, of course.
The bigger position you are in, the less people you have who will challenge your thinking, who will really tell you the truth about yourself, about the decisions you make, etc. This is like I always say, this is like in the air. The higher you are in a structure, the more pressure and the less oxygen there is. And people are feeling very, very lonely, especially if you're running the business or you are in the business. They are feeling a lot of pressure. And they are willing to sit down with somebody who's sometimes like a mirror, showing them what they cannot see in themselves. Yes. On the other side, sharing the perspective or the experience, which can change your life on instant sometimes even.
No, I can really see that, that of course it's about learning and development and getting insights from somebody who's had great experiences, just for example, as you have. But I suppose that support element is really key here, that you actually do, as you said, a founder will often feel very lonely. And I suppose it really is about being able to say, okay, there is somebody I can sit down with and use as a sounding board for the issues I have.
Yes, it is. I think it's my clients, and I right now work with almost, I think, 13 clients right now, and we meet every single week for an hour. So my role is to slow their thinking, slow even how they breathe, how they appear on this meeting, slow their thinking, slow how many things they do, sometimes also to speed it up, because some people are procrastinating. They don't want to have this difficult conversation or just, start selling your product really to valuable clients, etc. So my role is to sit down with them and for an hour a week, give them something, an insight on experience or anything which can change their way of thinking for the next week.
Okay, that's fantastic. I can really see, that it's almost like a therapy session, but in the business sense.
In the business sense, yes.
I mean, you do get to see so many fascinating companies, and I suppose have the privilege of, in a way, of having those insights into what's going on in those companies and what they're working on. I mean, are there moments when you, particularly with the startups that you work with, that you think, oh wow, this is a company that currently may be pretty small, but it really is going to become something huge and maybe on a global level? Do you have those moments?
I would start with the fact that I'm very grateful that I have an opportunity to meet so many people and so many great ideas. But I'm also grateful because those people are sharing with me all of the issues and problems and all of the ideas and the strategies for the next 5 or 10 years, something they really holding really with themselves. So I'm very grateful for that, because I can see more than majority of people and even the majority of managers or leaders can see. And yes, sometimes I see, and I think it's much more important, not even in the product, but rather in the person. I see the person and I see that maybe this product, or maybe this service, or maybe another service on another product, but definitely this person will achieve something big. Because when you look at the startup, it's not about the idea. There is a million of ideas all around, but the execution is key. And only with the person and the drive and the mindset, how strong they are to persist, to be rejected a million of times, and then still persist to do their own idea. Sometimes with this product, sometimes with another one. But yes, I had the privilege to see the people who are on the mission, on a big mission to do something big for themselves, big for their families, but also big for the world. And this is something this is really just make me, feel really grateful for what I do and for the opportunities I have to meet that kind of people.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So would you say that perseverance and maybe passion are the main characteristics that you think are the winning ones?
I would say
that...
that...
being too simplistic here.
I think that, passion is not enough. I think it's overrated.
Okay.
I think it's persistence. It's about how you deal with setbacks.
Okay.
What kind of plan do you have for yourself, for your growth and your development? Because one of the questions which I usually ask the C-level leaders or the startup founders is that, show me your rituals. Show me your rituals in the morning. Show me your rituals in the evening. Show me how you deal with setbacks. Show me how strong you are to persist your idea. I think that this is the most important. So it's better to be consistent, even doing the small steps, but every single day, than just be, super passionate. On Monday, just come to office with a huge energy, and then on Wednesday, just feeling completely drained, frustrated, even sometimes, angry, or just putting this anger on people in the office. So I would say passion is a good thing, but a little bit overrated.
Okay.
I would say that persistence and, this consistency, that's the clue.
Okay, well, that's I think we like this word passion because it sort of sounds sexy.
Sure.
But I can completely see, where you're coming from by saying, actually, this is not, on the list of sort of top qualities that necessarily we need to have. Olga, I know that you also work with startups to help them gain corporate clients. How easy or difficult is that? I've spoken to corporates, over the years and worked with corporates myself in this field, and it seems to me that it is quite a difficult thing. So, how do you approach that? And also, why, in your opinion, is it important for those startups to gain corporate clients?
So first of all, I have the experience of running my own startup at the beginning, during my university, and even right now when I'm having the small boutique company and this coaching and mentoring on the other hand. So I know exactly what kind of skills and approach you need to get the corporate client, and how important is that, because it can scale your business very, very fast. Yep. It's easier to get the money from the big corporation and get the money, and together with this corporation, grow your business. So it's like a little bit like a smart money, because those people and those corporations are giving you the money, but also giving you the way to scale the business. So that's why it's so important. And from my experience, great top performers, especially from startup world, or the consultants, mentors, whoever we call, but somebody who's selling in this kind of consulting way, they underestimate how important is that to have this kind of client. That's one thing. And secondly, that they can reach a much bigger client that they are approaching right now. And I'm always telling, be on a mission to get the biggest possible client you can have. We're not ready, they will not listen to us, we're too small, what kind of value we can bring, it doesn't matter. what matters is that you put 2 or 3 clients, big clients, on the table, on a plate, and you will find a way. You will take a mentor or a coach or a sponsor, whoever you need, or a trainer to prepare you for this bigger mission. Because, those people in corporate worlds, they need those startups as much as startups needs those corporate clients. So, it's only the way to find the way to make sure that they will understand each other, that will understand the value they are bringing, the benefits they will have, and the patience, which usually nobody has in this world. So the patience and persistence and consistency to deliver the value to the client, and one day this client will be your client.
Yeah. I think sometimes the fear can come from startup founders, and I'm sure you must have heard this as well, that the corporates will almost swallow the startup. I don't mean in a merger, but I mean sort of, I suppose, mentally, that they'll have no capacity to do anything apart from work with this corporate. That maybe their values, even though they're a very small company still, but that they do have their values. Will disappear, that maybe they'll be, paid very badly, whatever, the different fears. I mean, are they founded, or do you think, as long as you pick a client who maybe, does value that need for innovation within their organization, you can avoid those pitfalls?
That's why when I look at people, especially at startup founders, I look for a strong mindset. For somebody who has a very strong mindset, and secondly knows how to recharge their energy. Because there are only 2 things which matter in that case. Is that you know exactly what you do, you know exactly what kind of value you bring, and you are strong enough and patient enough to explain what you do, what kind of value you have, and some kind of fight for your space in this world or in this new organization. That's why the energy and making sure that you have those rituals of recharging energy. So you always have the energy to say, I disagree. And I disagree and explain exactly what you want to say. Sometimes in the corporate world, you have to explain it 10 times. Sometimes on the road to get the big client, you have to explain it 10 times. That's why mindset and energy is so important. And be consistent, just simply saying, I hear your point, I disagree, and let me explain why I disagree.
Yeah.
And the truth is, from my experience, the 25 years of my experience working with the corporate clients, and right now working with many, many leaders and many startups, is that the client doesn't want you to do what he wants you to do. The client wants you to be a leader of the whole project and say yes when it's necessary to say yes, and say no with explanation when you believe it's no. Because each of us, and especially clients, big clients, corporate clients on the C-level, what they dream of is just to have a lot of free time, peace of mind, and have a lot of money and be important, right? So you as a startup founder, you're supposed to do everything to give them as free time as they want and a peace of mind, which means sometimes telling the client, no, this is a wrong approach. Let me explain why it's wrong and let me show what will be the better approach. And the client will, I promise you, all of you, I promise that the client will love it and will appreciate it.
Well, indeed, I think, that's an important message to all of those founders who are listening to us today. Don't be scared to actually take the reins, I suppose, when you're working with a corporate. In fact, do take the reins and do show that you are a leader and are solving issues and helping the person you're working with.
Yes, but in that kind of moment, I always have to slow down somebody's thinking. And I'm always say, you have to be assertive. You have to bring your knowledge and experience to the table, but you are neither, better. You are not worse. So you're equal with your client.
Yeah.
And the moment you understand it, the easier all of the meetings you will hold.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So listen, founders, take all this in. Olga, since you've become part of this startup ecosystem, I mean, in Poland, this ecosystem has completely changed. I believe, even in a short space of time. But what are the key changes and positive changes that you see? But also, what needs to happen for Poland to continue and become more competitive on the global innovation market in the years to come?
So, I think hard to give the projections what will happen. I don't think that anyone here will sit down and give his or her projections. The difference which I see is that 6 or 8 years ago, a lot of my corporate clients or my friends were calling me and asking, where should I put my money in startups? I want to invest money in startups. Should I put the money in this one or in that one? Everyone was talking about the startup world and everyone wanted to invest. Everyone wanted to be part of this world. If people didn't have money, they were like, wanting to become a mentor, a coach, just to be somewhere around this environment. Right now, I almost don't get that kind of questions.
Okay.
People either invested and they realized those money will never come back, or they are thinking about all the things right now, which are much more important on this, in our environment. Those good and bad things which are happening all around. So I see that there's not so many conversations about investing in a startup world. Secondly, what positive I see is that there is much more knowledge all around and experience sharing. So the startups are having much better, starting point than it was 5-10 years ago. Because right now there's a lot of mentors, coaches, a lot of organizations who are training those people and giving them the experience and giving them know-how, how to do it better, how to scale faster, how to make sure that this product is, that your product is properly set up for the market. So I would say that the knowledge sharing and this development of the personal development and business development is working much better.
Okay, that's quite fascinating to hear, though, that you see less of an interest in friends, colleagues, or people from the ecosystem wanting to put their own money into startups. I mean, is that not a bit of a red light for the future if people say, okay, I tried it and actually I didn't get any returns, I'm going to put it in, I don't know, real estate instead. I'm not going to continue. I mean, because obviously technology needs capital to be able to thrive and grow. So is that not a worry?
I would say that this is like, this is like the trends in the world in every sector and every category. So I'm not so surprised. Secondly, I think that there is enough of money and cash in the world. So there is always money to invest in startups. So I'm not worried. I'm just sharing what I see the difference in.
No, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. And great to hear that you see more and more learning and development. But I think I see that as well. So many more accelerators, incubators, support programs. Sure. People know where to go for the knowledge. Whereas some years back, it was as if they had a head in a bag and trying to navigate without those support structures. But what do you think Poland, has as a secret sauce? Where is Poland specifically maybe going to go? Are we going to be competitive globally, or at least in Europe? What? I mean, I know you can't predict. Sure. Nobody knows. But what is your sort of inner thought, inner belief?
Yes, I think that we should stop thinking about Poland, Germany, Czech Republic.
Okay.
It's a world. And, in the world, there are people who are having some dreams or having some problems. And startups are usually solving either the problems of people's problems, or they are just helping people to get their dreams.
Okay.
And I would rather think about how many people near us, let's say, and internet let us think about the world as a place next to us, right?
Yeah.
So think about the needs people are having and try to come up with ideas for solving those problems. And don't focus on Poland, but rather focus on the world, right? There are the examples of the countries in Europe who are very, very tiny and small, and they are doing a great job worldwide because they are not thinking about their small, population, but they're thinking about the rest of Europe, let's say, at the beginning, right?
Yeah. I love that. I love that, sort of let's not think about borders and geographies, but let's think about, how we can solve problems for as many people as possible, irrelevant where they're from. Great thought. Olga, thank you so much. I really appreciate your insights. I'm sure our viewers will as well, and will take home a lot of, your thoughts and consider them and hopefully work on those ideas themselves as well.
Thank you very much for having me here. And it was a great pleasure. I felt like,
Absolute pleasure to have you, Olga.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.